Hello and welcome to a new video. I will react today to geography now. Angola, a country in the southern hemisphere of the earth, an African country, very large, similar size to Alaska in the United States, and also much bigger than Germany, Italy, France, Spain, United Kingdom. So a very large country in the southern part of Africa, above Namibia. But yeah, we will see also probably much more in the video now. The reason why I react to Angola, you will maybe find out later. Why specifically today? Maybe I will also not find out. Depends. But the most important thing is that we will now react to Angola. Capital Luanda. They speak Portuguese, so let's just jump into this video. By the way, a few days ago, my girlfriend broke up with me, so I mean, she is not my girlfriend anymore. My ex-girlfriend, she is now. Kind of. Yes. But anyway, that's besides the point. It's not important for this video. Let's start right now.
In some parts of Angola, that's actually considered a good deal. Welcome to...
Moment.
You know, I once went to Denmark and I bought a sandwich.
I have the feeling I already reacted to Angola. And they are right. I remember this. I already reacted to Angola in the stream, but I also reacted to Denmark and Canada, I think. Anyway, I will now react to it again. Yeah. Geography now, Angola. My second reaction on YouTube. I thought it would be my first reaction, but my second reaction, but I react now again. So, enjoy it.
You know, I once went to Denmark and I bought a sandwich that was $21. In some parts of Angola, that's actually considered a good deal. Welcome to the country that has the world's most expensive city.
I think he is speaking about the capital, Luanda. Yeah, I heard it is quite expensive. But yeah, let's just watch the video. I hope you all enjoyed.
It's time to learn geography.
My dear Angolian friends. Can I say this? Angolian friends, is this the right word? My dear friends from Angola.
No! Everybody, I'm your host, Paul Barbado. You're probably still wondering about that sandwich. But first, let's dissect the flag.
It is one of his older videos. I mean, the country starts with an A, so of course it's a very early country. He goes through the countries from A to Z. So Zambia and Zimbabwe will be the last countries, and Angola was one of the first. So yeah, he later changed how he makes his videos, and the videos also got much longer. So some people say that he should make now also second versions of the early countries in the style of the later videos. But yeah, we will see what he will do. He's right now recording or working on the Uganda episode, and after Uganda, you guess it, comes Ukraine. So I will react to it, but now let's not waste any more time.
The flag of Angola is actually pretty intriguing because it's one of the few countries that has a flag that tries to imitate another flag. The colors black and red. Black representing Africa, red representing, you guessed it, the blood of those who fought for Angola. And in the middle is the Angolan emblem. The emblem is a machete with half a cogwheel.
That's also, I mean, often when I see these flags, I also thought about this, that it looks like kind of a, communist symbol. I'm nothing against communism. I'm a communist, as you might know. But yeah, it's interesting. I didn't saw the cock thing. Just the sword or so, and the style. I didn't know it was a cock thing. But yeah, interesting. Let's continue.
Positioned in a way that somewhat imitates the old former USSR's flag of the hammer and sickle. The machete representing peasantry and agriculture, the half cogwheel representing industry, and a star on top representing the progress of the country, all colored yellow to represent the wealth of the nation. Now you're probably wondering, why does Angola have a flag that tries to imitate the former Soviet Union's flag? Well, we'll get into that later, but first let's talk about the political geography. In terms of its political geography, Angola is located on the western coast of the southern part of Africa, bordering the...
And I knew also about this And I also learned on Cetera the provinces of Angola. I don't know why I have chosen this, but I just randomly chose this and decided to learn them a bit. And I knew about this exclave in the north also. I think Luanda is located here. I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong.
Atlantic Ocean on the west, bordered by 4 other countries. You would think Angola is bordered by 3 other countries. However, in the north, there's that one little small province called Cabinda. This little small sliver of land, barely larger than the size of Delaware, is so important to the Angolan country due to the fact that it produces and contains over 60% of Angola's oil reserves. Now, this small little piece of land touches the Republic of Congo, making it the 4th country that technically borders Angola. Now, just like Albania that we studied a few weeks ago, Angola is a coastal country, but it doesn't really have many coastal islands. It only
Is Albania then the first country on the list? Andorra? Okay, Andorra comes later. Maybe Albania is really the first country. AL. Yeah, I think Albania might actually be the first country he made.
has about 2. Kwanda Island in the north, which operates as a administrative town that manages the logistics of the oil companies in Angola, and Baía dos Tigres, which actually used to not even be an island. It used to be a peninsula. It was connected to the mainland by a small little thin isthmus. However, back in the 70s, the ocean completely engulfed and destroyed the isthmus and the one water pipeline that fed the one town on the island, which was named Tigres. Tigres used to be a fisher town. However, after that one freshwater pipeline that broke, almost overnight the entire town was evacuated, and today Baía dos Tigres is a ghost town. The capital of Angola is Luanda, which is
I was right with the position of the capital. I think it is located here. And I have seen some pictures of the capital when I googled it a few days ago or so, and it really looks interesting. Maybe I would like to travel there maybe someday. Like to maybe all the other countries I react to, of course. Maybe not all of the countries, but most of the countries I would like to visit.
African architectural wonder, mostly built off of the oil industry money that Angola thrives off of. A large portion of their everyday amenities have actually been imported, and which is why everything is so expensive. For example, a typical sandwich could cost $26, a pair of jeans $240, and don't be surprised to see a 2 to 3 bedroom apartment go for rent for between $10,000 to $15,000 a month.
That's expensive. That's very expensive. Well, interesting. Maybe I would not go there shopping, but maybe it's an interesting city.
Now, Angola actually has a lot of different kinds of landscapes. In the north and northeast, you can see a lot of tropical jungles and rainforests. In the center area, you can find lots of flat plateaus and savannas. The further east you go, you find a lot of dry hills and mountains. And the further south you go along the coast, you find desert lands and dry, arid landscapes. When you go to the Mojico province in the east...
That's also something I surprised me when I learned the provinces. That Mexico. I mean, it sounds like Mexico, of course. But why is this name? And so I don't know. But it looks I mean, it looks funny, but probably there's a history behind this. Or if you know, please tell me.
Side, you see this leaf-shaped pattern from satellite images, and that's actually a really intricately, widely dispersed section of rivers that actually kind of looks like a leaf. If you actually zoom in on these satellite images, you can possibly find native tribal towns and areas that are uncharted and unmarked on the map, but where the people still live in mud huts and thatched roof houses. Now, Angola's land is actually very rich in resources and has huge potential for land cultivation. And actually, at one point during Portuguese colonization, Angola actually used to produce almost every single major crop except for wheat, and had a huge coffee, banana, and maize export sector. However, now agriculture is at a very small fraction of what it used to be. In fact, they only produce about 1% of the coffee exports that they used to prior to 1975. The problem is that Angola went through a civil war. And during a civil war, you don't really have a lot of time to invest in...
I heard about this also. I think it ended in 2002, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong, then tell me. I might actually be very wrong. But I think it, I mean, I know there was a civil war, and I know it ended kind of recently. I mean, not recently in the last years, but recently in the last 20 years or so. Something like this. I don't know much about the Civil War. So, yeah, please educate me in this way.
Your infrastructure in your country, and that either slowed down or completely halted most of the agricultural exports. Also keep in mind, landmines were planted everywhere. However, the country is trying to make a comeback as best as they can. To this day, over 95% of all of the exports actually comes from oil. Now you're probably asking, why did Angola go through a civil war? What's all this stuff going on? Let's discuss that in demographics. As of 2014, Angola has about 22 million people with conservative estimates. And there are three main people groups: the Ovimbundu, the Ambundu, which by the way, Chris Tucker has a possible genealogical tie to, and the Bakongo. Other minority groups exist as well that make up the remainder of the population, like the Ovambo, the Chokwe, and the Kindonga people. About 2% of the population is mestizo, or mixed between black and white. Also, about 1% of the population is European, mostly Portuguese, and surprisingly, about 1% of the population is also Chinese. In the past few decades, China has actually had a huge influx of immigrants come to Angola, mostly for business. We'll discuss that in a little bit. That's actually quite impressive, considering that Angola had absolutely no ties to China prior to 1975, just a few decades ago. Now, the official language of Angola is actually Portuguese, due to the fact that Angola was a Portuguese colony for over 400 years until 1975. Now, we've been discussing...
I heard about also that Portugal, I mean, from all of the colonies, different countries in Europe had, Portugal had its colonies for the longest period of time. It also started the colonization and ended it, very lately, in 1990, almost in the late 90s, I think. But yeah, that's interesting. For 400 years, it's quite a lot.
People we've been discussing.
I have also started to learn a bit Portuguese, which is surprisingly simple. I mean, it probably gets more difficult later, but it has some interesting similarities to Spanish, and also, like for example, menino, menino, and menina. Menino is a boy, menina is a girl. And also other things, some things sound similar, like aqua also, and then o menino or a menina, and also the that with o is male, with a is female, and this similarity. So if in the program I'm learning with, for example, you have to put a word into a sentence where one word is missing, and then there's emptiness, the gap where the word comes. I have to put in, and then the rest of the sentence is I mean, when there's an o at the end of a word, a verb, an adjective, for example, then also, I think the O must be in front. Also, when there's an O, you have to be. You cannot say O manina, for example. I mean, there are things which it's difficult to explain. It's stupid what I just said, but it was surprisingly easy for me to make this so far the lessons in Portuguese. Because I have learned Spanish at school, I'm learning French right now also, and yeah, so far it's not so difficult. I will make a video about this also maybe, but yeah. Anyway, I hope this was not too weird what I just did. Let's continue.
A little bit of the history. Let's explain a lot more about this in the friend zone. Now, when it comes to friends, Angola is kind of in a weird diplomatic limbo, and it all has to do with, you guessed it, the Civil War. Long story short, Angola was kind of like the Korean War and the Vietnam War, in which it was a proxy war, in large part affected by the Cold War, where the Soviets took over one side and the Western alliances took over the other side. However, it's interesting because in this war, China actually took the side against the Soviets. That made the Angolan Civil War one of the few times that the US and China actually fought alongside of each other for a common cause. cause. Eventually, the MPLA won, or the Soviet-backed up side. However, in the 90s, Angola dropped the whole communism thing and adopted more of a US and Western-friendly government style. This means that Angola is caught in a weird state in which they still have this tie to the former Soviet Union nations, even though they dropped the whole communism and ideology thing, while they are still progressively making friendships with the West and the US, even though they spent countless years and resources fighting against them. Now, when it comes to China,
I mean, communism is actually a good thing, of course. And many people think from communism immediately, communism bad, like a logic assumption you make when you touch something hot and you say, "Aua, it's hot." So the people don't often think about that. Communism itself is actually good. Maybe not everything communistic claimed or real countries did everything good, but the concept, the idea is good. It's based about trying to give the people the most freedom they possibly can, and give all people the same freedom. So there's another good video I will maybe later react to, which explains communism, socialism, and the ideas behind it from second thought. Socialism for absolute beginners when you want to search for it for yourself. Let's continue.
China still holds on and has huge ties to Angola diplomatically and economically. In fact, to this day, Angola has just surpassed Saudi Arabia as China's #1 oil exporter. And in return, China has been investing tons back into Angola. They even built an entire neighborhood called Nova Cidade de Calimba in the south of Luanda with 750 apartment complexes. Unfortunately, the project didn't go so well. The apartments were too expensive, and to this day, less than 10% of the area is occupied.
That's for example something which is just stupid in capitalism. So many houses, so many possibilities for people to live, and just 10% is occupied. It's so worthless and senseless. If in a socialistic system, in a socialistic state, in a socialistic country, whatever, all of the flats would be occupied. People could live there, could enjoy a good life, and or they would have not built this entire city. The idea behind it is this. The idea behind socialism is that people can live the most freest life possible. They have the right for a flat. They have the right to live somewhere in a place which is good and not just a hole somewhere or a dirty, disgusting flat or house miles away from everyone else. There's another good video about housing in Vienna. Maybe I have a link here in the video or I'll react to it later, or both. But something like this, that just 10% of such a big place of houses would be occupied, would not happen under a socialistic system, or should not happen under a socialistic system, and the socialistic system would want to prevent this.
The rest is pretty much a ghost town. Now, in terms of their best friends, Angola would probably consider Brazil and Portugal their best friends, even though Portugal had occupied them for over 400 years. After they had received their independence, they still maintained friendly ties to their former colonizer. Brazil, which also used to be a Portuguese colony, not only shares a linguistic similarity with Angola, but also has a huge business sector that they share with Angola as well. Not only that, but they also...
I think even Angola has twice the population of Portugal. So even when Brazilian Portuguese, Portuguese, and Angolan Portuguese, should still be, I mean, more official than Portuguese because they have more people. Of course, Brazilian Portuguese tops them all, but interesting still.
Relate with each other relationally because a large portion of the black people in Brazil have possible ties to Angola during the Portuguese slave trade. They love each other. Also, Mozambique is kind of seen as like the little brother of Angola who kind of wants to imitate him. In conclusion, Angola has gone through more shifts and changes in the past 40 years than it ever has in its entire history, and it's still changing today. Angola is definitely one of those countries you'll want to keep your eyes on. Stay tuned. Antigua and Barbuda are coming up next.
As I said, I already reacted to Angola. I will have maybe also a link to the first reaction or the stream where I reacted to it in the description of this video. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope someone from Angola also maybe watched it. If yes, please just write a comment. And please subscribe for the channel. I would really enjoy this. I like to make these videos, and if I see that you guys also enjoy it, it is of course much more better. So, recommend me a country you want me to react next to. And yeah, we see each other again in the next video. See you.